undertone of questions being released in the atmosphere. You know what they were asking? What's she gonna do now? She lost a man. You know, in them days, women couldn't earn what men earned. Women couldn't do what men were doing employment-wise. And so now they were already taking bets and wagers of how long she was going to keep the house and how long she was going to be able to keep all the stuff that they accumulated during their years of marriage and how long she was going to keep her sanity. They were asking themselves, what is she going to do now? And don't you know that's what people are looking and asking about our lives. They see some of the junk that we're dealing with. They hear about some of the problem that you're facing in your life, and they're whispering by the water cooler on the job. They're talking about you in the parking lot of the church house, wondering, what are you going to do now? She had great pain. Then a problem reared its ugly head. And now she realizes she's got a big problem. The problem is, who's going to cut the grass? Who's going to protect me when I'm in harm's way? Who's going to provide for my welfare? And so while she's accepting the reality that I'm back in a losing situation, naturally, she's thinking about, how am I going to make it tomorrow? How am I going to keep it together next week? How am I going to retain and sustain my lifestyle and livelihood all throughout the remaining portion of the year till I get my tax return check? Y'all understand? How am I going to do it? How am I going to make it? How am I going to survive? But the word says, while she was walking out, glory be to God, I feel freedom creeping up in here. While she was walking out of the gate of the city, the Bible says Jesus was passing by her way. And don't you know the God that we serve have impeccable timing? God's got the best timing in the world. And that's what somebody needs to recognize today. Don't you dare become nervous. Don't you dare get antsy. Don't you dare start panicking prematurely when it seems like time is against your survival. But you've got to do like the old saints said. They said you've got to learn how to wait and trust in God. They used to sing a song that said, you can't hurry God. Oh no, you just got to wait. You've got to trust him and give him time. No matter how long it takes, he's a God you can't hurry. But he'll be there. He'll be there. He'll be there. Don't you worry. And I know I got a witness in here that will agree with me by saying he may not come, but he's he's always on time. And so here now was this mother, this motherless child, this husbandless wife, walking out of the gate of the city on her way to a familiar burial ground. And the Bible says that while she was walking, the Bible says that Jesus saw her. And I'm glad that the Lord is not too busy to see about little old me. I'm glad that God, that Jesus is not too overtaken with responsibility, that he doesn't keep his eyes on me. And when he saw her, the word says he had compassion on her. Anybody glad that the Lord can feel your pain? The Bible says we have not a high priest that cannot be touched by the feeling of our infirmities. Look at somebody and tell them he feels you. He feels your pain. He feels your anguish. He feels feels your strife. And so when he saw this mother, when he saw this widow, the word says he had compassion on her. And because he felt the magnitude of her pain, the word says that he opened his mouth and he began to speak into her life. Now what Jesus whispered into the ear of this woman with great pain and great problems looked from the outside in seems a little insensitive. It seems that Jesus was off the mark on this one, because here now was a mother who already lost her man, and now her heart is broken again by losing her only son. But then Jesus says, in a time of mourning, in a time of death and loss, Jesus whispers two words with such a profound meaning. Jesus said, "Weep not." Now I thought, Bishop, that Jesus shouldn't have said that, because when I'm hurting, God knows I want to cry. When things don't look good, God knows I'm going to shed a tear. But Jesus said, stop your weeping and stop your crying. And some of us today are at that same critical crossroad where what we're looking at, the Lord is trying to tell us not to act in a normal manner that's conducive and expected in that particular predicament. But now this woman is in a confused state. She doesn't know what to do. She's like, Lord, I lost everything. I don't have anybody left. I don't know where my next meal's coming from. And the only thing that I have in my power to do is to weep. But Jesus said, wait a minute. You've got another option. Don't throw your hand in, but I'm here to tell you, play on. Just shake somebody's hand and tell them, I know it looks bad, but I need you to play on. I know it's hurting you profusely, but I need you to play on. I know it looks like you've already lost, but high five somebody and say, play on. And so when Jesus, he whispered in the mother's ear and said, weep not, I began to research there about why Jesus would encourage her to stop weeping. Well, weeping now is an uncontrolled expression of grief and sorrow. So while she was walking in the funeral processional, about to depart from the last family member that she ever had in her house, Jesus said, wait a minute, stop all that falling out, stop all that uncontrollable breathing, stop all that uncontrollable crying, and what I need you to do is to allow me to balance things out for you. And that's what the Lord sent me here to tell you, that he's about to balance things out, because somebody today has been praying, Lord, when is it ever gonna get better? And that's what this woman's actions indicated to us, that while she was weeping, I would suggest to you that deep in her belly she was worshiping, because only a worshiper can hold on to two little words that'll change their life. She didn't need a long theological discourse, but all she needed was an on-time word. That's what Isaiah said. He said, Lord, give me a word that I can speak in season to those that are in need of a word. And when Jesus, he said, weep not, I believe in my heart that he was answering her prayer, that while she was weeping and she kept on walking, there was worship in her belly that she kept preaching to herself. At some point, it's got to break. At some point, it's got to break. At some point, it